Hello, and welcome to Silicon Valley Girls Chat Over Tea. I'm Gloria.
And I'm Rosetta.
And thank you so much for joining us for another one of our chats. We're very, very grateful for your support. And as always, we like to, set the tone. So we like to be in an environment of love, kindness, just a peaceful environment. I'm so happy we just got out of Mars in retrograde, Mercury in retrograde, one of the planets. It's now spinning the right way. It's going to take about a week before we start to feel the woo-saw. It's coming. So stay positive.
Yes, thank you so much for that, Gloria. And welcome everyone to our weekly chat. We did miss 1 week last week, but we're back.
Yes.
And we're so happy to have you. If you're returning, thank you. If you're new, welcome. And we are Silicon Valley Girls Chat Over Tea, so we're going to get going. Oh, before I forget, if you like our chats, we would love it if you could hit that thumb icon, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell notification so you're the first to be notified when our chats are ready to be viewed, because I know you're all excited.
Yes.
And today we have a new tea, which I'm so excited to talk about. It's from Herbal Cup, Immunity with Seafood Elderberries.
Seafood?
Sorry, did I say seafood?
I was like, woo, it's got seafood. My girl, the reason we weren't with you last week, she was celebrating her birthday. Happy birthday, Rosetta, happy birthday. And she found this magnificent tea in Hawaii.
Yes, it's not seafood.
I think it's superfood, right?
It's supposed to be superfood. I should
There
know
we
that.
go.
Superfood.
Superfood.
Let's clarify that. Superfood. And the ingredients are all organic elderberry fruit. This one says, what does that say? I can't even read it. Echinacea.
Very good.
My eyesight. Tulsi
She
leaves.
refuses to wear glasses.
Ginger root. Hibiscus flower. And licorice root.
Her
My
favorite. Her
favorite. There you go, by Herbal Cup.
Favorite.
So we love it, and we're going to try it. We've had it steeping.
Yes.
Going to wake it up a bit.
Yes. Ooh, it's nice and dark.
It's really
Wow.
dark. I'm surprised.
It has an unusual scent, I must admit. I've never smelt anything like this.
All right, we're going to try
Okay,
it.
cheers.
Cheers, everyone. I kind of like it.
You know, my brain, as I was sipping it, said, oh yeah, this is superfood. This is very healthy.
Yeah, I
like
can
it.
taste the licorice. I can't really taste the ginger right now, but I think that's elderberry coming through.
I think it
if
is.
that's what elderberry is meant to taste of, because I've never tried I don't really know what elderberry is meant to taste like. But
Yeah.
as we say, we'll let it sit. But sometimes when it gets a bit cooler, the more of the flavors come out.
Exactly. Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. So, our thoughts and prayers go out to the universe because we've got a lot going on in the world, and every day there's a new, oh my God, moment. We were teasing you a couple of chats ago, and I mean, it's kind of almost the theme of the year. You know, the Chinese proverb that says, may you live in interesting times. So, one of the little thoughts and prayers to the world and the universe, why we do that is we extend everything. So imagine you're an astronaut and you go up to space for 8 days, and then you're stuck up there for what could be 8 months. So the astronauts that are out in space right now, the earliest they think they'll be able to return home is February of 2025. So there's always something going on in the world. So we don't just pray for the here and now, we pray for the extended, what we can see and what we can't see. And we hope you will always realize that we're in a very I don't even know when to say the word space. We're in a very open environment with our communication to love and let love. All right. So our focus, as you know, for this year is on our children, to help them grow and to help them to thrive in a chaotic world. And one of the things that we are always thinking about is what's going on in our world and how it can affect our children. Well, right now we're in the heart of the election process, the build up to November 5th. Everyone is all focused on where we are and where we want to go. We've even cited a couple of times for you that there's this document called Project 2025 that's being revved up a lot by the Republican parties. Well, last week we had a very unusual process called the DNC, which is the Democratic National Convention. I have to share with you and be honest, I've never really watched one before.
Nor have I.
I might, look at, like, if they say someone I like is going to be a speaker, I might watch it for that. I've never watched the entire thing.
No.
I've never recorded it so I could go back and watch it. I've never done that. I recorded and watched every minute of the entire convention, because it was not it wasn't no negativity. It wasn't about them versus us. It was about we the people. It was about the American people. Would you agree?
Yes, exactly. And I was very, very happy watching it. It was, I didn't know that the DNC was for a whole week, because I never really watched it. But the whole week was just full of, to me, smiles, joy, and hope.
Yes.
And every time someone stepped on that stage and spoke, my smile was from ear to ear.
Yes.
Because I was so joyful for the hope of what is to come.
Yes.
When we do have Kamala Harris and Tim Walz as president and vice president.
Yeah.
And the three people that I was very interested in listening to was Oprah, Borack, and Michelle Obama. But I also didn't know that Anna Nevaro was going to speak.
I didn't either.
Until I saw her and I said, I'm going to watch it. So I was on vacation, so I
She
didn't get to
still
watch it live, but I went back and put my earpiece on and was listening to it on PBS, because PBS has the full speeches of everyone, so I can just do a little search on that. So I watched it all, and every person that came on stage was just making me smile.
Yeah.
And who was the other person who I didn't expect was Kenan Thompson.
Yes.
The comedian.
Yes.
He came out with that big,
huge
Project 2025 book. And he
bound.
did a little skit, just like Saturday Night Live.
Right.
And if you hadn't seen it, go back and go to PBS and Google Kenan Thompson, because you'll be laughing. I was cracking up. He just made it funny. Had it been for, anyone could have done what he did, but he did it in a way that was not only hilarious, but insightful.
Exactly.
Because you got to know that this is exactly what is going to happen if a certain person gets elected.
Right.
And he brought out like 4 or 5 different people and asked them what they did.
Right.
And then he said, well, did you know in this Project 2025, so-and-so is no longer, or going to be, like one lady here, I'll give you an example. He said here, if I can find through all my notes, because there was so much stuff happening. See, let me get to that part. Where is it?
Yeah.
It says, one person said Trump was going to, it says, let's see, resurrect a law from the 1800s, the Cornstalk Act, to ban abortion nationwide and throw healthcare providers in jail. She was an OBGYN, a doctor. And I didn't know that was part of it. I knew that there was going to be banning abortions, but I didn't know they were going to send healthcare professionals into jail.
Yes, the plan is to, if you have a baby, an embryo, let's call it what it is, an embryo that dies inside the mom's body, if a doctor extracts that dead embryo from the mother's body, that doctor could be put in jail for that action. If a woman has a she loses the baby and the baby aborts naturally, you still have to go to the doctor and have things taken care of. If a doctor took care of it after the passing of that embryo / baby, they could be put in jail. It's going to be very, very strict.
Yes, and the other one was elimination of protection of LGBTQ plus Americans.
Yeah.
So that's big because we fought hard for that.
Yes.
That didn't come easy for the LGBTQ plus community.
They just got the rights, and now they're watching them be shrunk backwards.
Yes. And calls to pay for more prescription drugs like insulin.
Yes.
So you're not going to be paying, like one lady said she only pays $35 a month.
That's the cap right now. President Biden and Vice President Harris worked across the aisle, Republicans and Democrats, to pass a law that insulin cannot exceed $35 a month for seniors. His goal, and of course her goal, because she's still the vice president, she still has duties, is to cap the cost out of pocket for American citizens to $2,000. I mean, you know, my husband just got out of the hospital. That, when you hear something like that, when you're receiving a bill where they take a blood sample and it's $2,000, it's like I could stick his finger and take the blood. It wouldn't cost me $2,000.
Right, exactly.
So things are just overly expensive. Yet, for me, each night that I watched the DNC, I was more and more inspired. President Biden did an amazing job kicking it off, you know, saying that she is the one, that he hands the baton to her. He knows that she can do the job. He's not thinking, he knows that she can do the job. That to me was very inspirational. It showed that the government could actually care about its citizens, that the government was in a position to show love and compassion and not allow everything to be driven by greed.
Exactly. There were some other things that he talked about, and one of them was eliminating the Department of Education altogether.
Yes.
It's pretty crazy, people. And it said Trump to purge the civil service of everyone who isn't a mega loyalist.
Yeah.
So that's what it was. But you know what? The three people that I really want to watch, I'm actually going to put the links below here in the description for the full speech so you can watch it if you haven't watched it. But I just wanted to say that I loved Oprah because her speech was about what matters most to you and to me, and hers was freedom.
Right.
So her speech was all about freedom and where it came from. And had she not done that speech, I would never have heard of a lady called Tessa Prevost Williams, who was born in New Orleans not long after Supreme Court ruled regulated public schools were unconstitutional.
Right.
And she headed to first grade at the all-white Madonna 19 school with a U.S. Marshal by her side. And it was her, and I think a few other girls, that actually broke the barriers and paid clearly for it.
Right.
Because when they were there, all the other white kids left.
Right. They refused to stay in the classrooms.
And she said, this is Oprah's words, it was the grace and guts of these four, Tessa, Leona, Gail, Ruby Ridges, and of these women that paved the way for another young girl who 9 years later became part of the second class to integrate into the public schools in Berkeley. And we know who she's talking about here is Kamala Harris.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it paved that way for her, and I love the fact that she talked about that and all that it's allowing our young kids to do. Because as Gloria said, what was one of my takeaways was about how we can improve and instill in your young children what hope and freedoms we can have in this country, instead of making it all about race, religion,
and going back.
Yes, and going back.
If you notice, one of the themes of the convention is we won't go back. We will never go back to what that was. And even though there are young people who may feel like, oh, I don't care who's president, trust me, as you continue to age, you will care a whole lot about who's president.
Yes, and Oprah says also, voting is the best of America.
Yes.
That really is. Voting is the best of America. Values and character matter the most in leadership and in life more than anything. And you know that this is true, that decency and respect are on the ballot of 2024.
Yes.
And just plain common sense.
Yes.
People, we need to understand that we have to vote, and we have to make sure that, does it make sense? That's really important. What are your morals and your ethics?
Yes.
Try and vote with that, and what makes sense for our country going forwards, not
All
backwards.
of us, not for some, not for the rich, all of us.
And for our children. Our children are our future generations. How do we want them growing up? In what kind of country do we want them to be ruled by?
Yeah. Do you want them to be under the leadership of a dictator, or do you want them to have a better life than you had? You want them to be in a position that they can make changes. One of the greatest things that Oprah said, Oprah was not planned to be on stage. However, after she heard Michelle say, do something, she picked up the phone when they called and she said yes. And that's how she ended up on stage. She is such a profound woman because she came from humble beginnings. And for her to go from that to where she is now, she is a direct reflection of what happens when you allow democracy. Because if it was pre-democracy, when a woman had the right to speak her mind, the right of choice, which they're trying to take away, the right of education, those are the things that are prevalent in our world today. And that's what we want to make sure we fight for.
Exactly. And one other thing about Oprah's, because I'm going to put her entire link to her speech, is she said, choose optimism over cynicism.
Yes.
Loyalty to the Constitution over loyalty to any individual.
Yes.
Inclusion over retribution. Common sense over nonsense.
Yes.
The sweet promise of tomorrow over the bitter return to yesterday.
Yes.
So that's what I'm telling you. Oprah knows how to put things in words and sentences that make sense.
Yes.
And I loved that. And it
Yes.
says that's the best America. More than anything, let's choose freedom.
Yes.
Freedom, freedom, freedom. And then we have Michelle Obama, who talks about, she knows what she's talking about. When she comes out and initially, she goes, we all know something is in the air, and that is the contagious power of hope.
Yes.
So freedom is what Oprah was talking about, and Michelle was talking about hope. The anticipation, the energy, the exhilaration of once again being on the cusp of a brighter day.
Yes.
And that's how me and Gloria, we've been talking about this. We felt hope and just joy and just for a better future.
Yeah. Michelle is in the process of grieving her mom. It was not her intention to, like Oprah, be on stage. It was also not her intention to have to talk about the other side, that person. You know, she cannot stand that person. However, she was impelled to do something.
And you know what, really, I did not know this. Did you know this, that Michelle had children through IVF?
Yes.
I didn't know. That was the first time I heard of it. I was shocked when she said that.
That's why, you know, I want people to understand when they're talking about taking away these rights, it's not just to terminate a pregnancy. It is to the whole process of extracting the eggs, you know, the whole process of IVF. How many rounds do you have to go through before you get the beauty of that baby? Everyone doesn't just walk around and go, I'm pregnant. It's a process. And that's what we're trying to get people to understand.
It's a very emotional process.
Yes. I mean, you can lose embryos in the blink of an eye. you have to have a steadfast constitution that you want that baby above anything else to keep trying, because it breaks your heart. You feel something and then all of a sudden there's nothing. It is not an easy task. And for Michelle to share that information with the world was, she'd already shared it before, but on such a big
Well, I'm
stage.
glad she did, because I did not know. And my husband was shocked because he didn't know either.
Yeah.
So this was the first time of us hearing about it, which is I admire her dearly.
Yes.
And she also said no one has a monopoly on what it means to be American. Kamala has shown her allegiance to the nation by not spewing anger and bitterness, but by living the life of service and always pushing the doors of opportunity open to others.
Yes.
You hear that? Opportunities.
To others, not to
others.
oneself, to others.
To others. And that's what she's all about. How can we help others? Not how can I line my pockets.
Yes.
So that's what I really loved about her. She was just, Michelle is always amazing. She's
Yes.
always amazing when she does her speeches.
Yes.
And then we have Obama, who came,
President
and she's
Obama.
like, how can anyone follow Michelle after that?
Yeah, he goes, no, what crazy person would follow Michelle Obama? And it would be him.
Yeah.
But he was cute, and he did well.
He did well. He said, I'm not going to say the name, a certain someone sees power as nothing but means to his end.
Mm-hmm.
He wants the middle class to pay the price for another huge tax cut.
Yes.
That would mostly help him and his rich friends.
Yeah.
So
I think he said something like $4 or $5 trillion on top of the deficit. And I want you all to hear me and understand something. You know what's causing this? The lack of major billionaires paying taxes. I remember, when Mr. Buffett was like, I pay less taxes than my secretary.
yeah,
And, he makes hundreds of millions and $billions a year. And he's like, I'm willing to pay my fair share. So if there are people who are not willing to pay their fair share, tell us who they are, and then we won't support them in their business. And that way, they will find out the true power of Americans. Because if you pay your fair share, as we all have to pay our fair share, then there will be more than enough for everyone. There will not be the haves and the have-nots.
exactly. And he understands what Kamala stands for, because
Yes.
he said, we need to meet the challenges of today. And Kamala understands this. She knows that we need to make it easier for young people to buy a home.
Yes.
We need to build more units and clear away some of the outdated laws and regulations that make it harder to build homes for working people in the country.
Yes.
Because we know it's very hard to buy a house
Yes.
if you're not making it out there.
Especially here in California.
Yes, and she's proud of the enormous progress that they've made through Affordable Care Act. So
Yes.
Kamala is just really all about the people, for the people, and what she knows they need from someone who's running as a president.
Yes.
So Borack, Michelle, Oprah did fantastically. And then we have Anna.
Yes. Anna Nevaro
Yes.
from The View. Yes.
You want to talk about her?
So Anna, as you know, is not a big fave of the ex-president. And I was really surprised when I saw her. And her talk was just about how untruthful and how unauthentic he is. She did not pull any punches in her communication. And I love the fact that, I call those drop the mic moments, when you say something and then you just turn around and walk away. And that is what she did when she was talking to the convention members.
Yeah, she was, and I didn't know she'd come when she was 8 years old to this country as a refugee.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that. Very good. And she said, this was funny. She goes, Kamala likes dogs and my dog Cha-Cha likes her. Dogs are good judges of character, and so are cats.
Yes.
We cannot elect a president who does not like dogs or hangs around with people who shoot them.
Well, think about it. We've only had one president in our recent lifetimes that did not have a dog in the White House.
That's true.
So
That's
you
very
just,
true.
I'm not even going to say the name if you want to find out who.
That's
Google
very
it.
true. But she was also talking about communism and
Yes.
everything.
And she really wanted to harp on the fact that people think, oh, I don't care if it's a dictatorship. You have no idea what you're talking about. It would not be good.
Exactly.
America as you know it today would cease to exist.
Exactly. So I'm going to put her speech down below as well for her link if you want to watch it, because it wasn't as long as Michelle's
Right.
or Borack, I
Right.
mean, her husband's or Oprah's, but it was to the point. And I love Anna because she says how she feels without being rude and crude.
Yes.
That's what I like about her.
It was really funny because, Whoopi, she only works Monday through Thursday.
Yes.
And then Anna's there on Friday. And so she was on last Thursday and she said, whew, today's my last day of work for the year. Because it was the end of the season. They don't come back till September.
That's right.
And they are going to be moving downtown New York to a brand new studio. So they had to pack up all of their stuff. And it is just so funny that Whoopi wasn't there Friday, but the rest of the girls were there. And of course they talked a little bit about, because their last days were before the convention. I cannot wait till they return in September so we can hear what Anna has to say about the whole experience. Now, the other component of this for me was when let me just tell you about who was there. So, President Biden, Hillary Clinton, these are all speakers. Hakeem Jeffries, Nancy Pelosi, of course, Michelle Obama, Stevie Wonder,
Yes.
President Obama, Kenan Thompson, Anna Nevaro, President Clinton, Josh Shapiro, Pete Buttigieg. I really like Pete.
Yeah.
Pete spends a lot of time on Fox News. When they make a claim, he just shows them how they're wrong or
Right,
they're lying
right.
or they're misinformed. I mean, that's what you call taking it right to them. Amanda Gorman, she actually read the speech that she did for President Biden's inauguration. It's all about upward and onward and positivity. Amy Klobuchar, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I want you to remember that name, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She announced that she was just a plain girl from the Bronx, and she was a waitress, and now she is a senator. That convention was full of moments like that where young Carmel girls all over the United States and the world could now see representations of themselves on stage.
Exactly.
That was amazing. Bernie Sanders, Oprah Winfrey, and of course the acceptance by, I call him Coach Tim Walz and Vice President Kamala Harris. I loved Coach Tim's speech. I love the fact that he poured his heart out. And, like he has this saying, we can sleep when we're dead. We got work to do. Let's do it. He's very upbeat. He has a special needs son. His son was so touched and inspired seeing his father on stage that he broke down into tears. Now, instead of people saying, oh my God, isn't that sweet? Because we're all about children. That is just so touching, so loving, so beautiful. No, you know what happened? People started talking about him and really, really nasty comments. That is not who we are as Americans. We don't accentuate the negative. That is what I loved about the DNC. There wasn't, from the DNC, there was no negative. It was all on the outside. It was other people's interpretations, what they saw, what they thought they saw. I loved Kamala Harris's speech. I loved how she talked about, I am not going to be just one side's president. I want to be a president for everyone. I want to bring peace and harmony to everyone. She talked about the war. And I always say, I don't know why people think that, President Biden can just be, I dream of Jeannie, click, war's over. it takes time. You have to negotiate because this isn't our war. We're just trying to support it and bring it to peace as soon as possible. That is what we want in a president. We want a president that's going to always be a part of the team. You know, we have NATO. We want to support Ukraine. If we don't support Ukraine, they're just going to march right on into Poland. And then from Poland to the UK. I mean, it would be the end of the world as we know it. So we want a president who cares about all people, who can find win-win solutions. And that is really key. And so her speech just really touched my heart. And prior to that, I think she was somewhere doing a speaking engagement when they did the roll call. DJ Cassidy, he played music that was appropriate to each state when they would ask for them to declare their candidacy. I mean, well, what do they call those? The number, the delegates.
Oh, the delegates, yeah.
Yes, they would declare the number of delegates that they had for a person. And if you notice, sometimes it was 100%. We have 2,500, we declare them all. But sometimes it might have been 2,375 because we still have, other candidates that are available and viable to vote for. The most important thing was, did you feel a sense of hope? I also, each day there was a theme. I don't know if you knew that. Monday was for the people. Tuesday was a bold vision for America's future. Wednesday was a fight for our freedom. And Thursday was for our future. And when she puts the link, you can go back and each day you can look and see who were the speakers of that day. Who did they think would bring that message across? Because it was just such an amazing event. Mindy Caitlin, Kerry Washington they were two of the major hosts that would come up and introduce people throughout the night. Maury Morris, country singer, did a fabulous job. Mickey Guyton, as a black woman trying to break into the country music industry, she made a song talking about she's an American. And so she being on that stage was very, very relevant. John Legend and Sheila E. did a Prince. I mean, the music was good, the talks were good. And of course, Stevie Wonder kicked it off with Higher Ground. Yeah. Because that's what we have to do, is we have to get to a higher ground. We have to let the negative and the pettiness go away, because that's just not the truth of who we are. So Pink performed. She happened to be in town and they were like, would you like to? And she's like,
yes, of course.
And she's like, of course I would. And she did a fabulous job. So people thought there would be other, musicians like Beyonce or Taylor Swift. But this was all about Vice President Kamala Harris. This was her night.
And I have to mention one thing before we move on, is that I was very happy to see the Central Park 5.
Yeah.
They actually came on stage, and if you all remember that story, what did DT say about them?
Right.
Go back and listen. He was very, very vocal about what should become of these
not just
Central
vocal,
Park 5.
He took out a full page ad. It was either $32,000 or $38,000 condemning these young men.
Yeah.
And he's never come out to say, mea culpa, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that. He also had lawsuits against him because, how he's always bragging about Trump Tower. He would not allow people of color to lease a home in the property. Do you want a president who cares about all people, inclusive for all? Or do you want a president that only thinks about me, 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 me? Not even us. Me, 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 me.
I don't. I definitely don't want to be ruled by someone like that.
Yes.
And I just want this to be, this DNC was very, very joyful. That's what I felt. Very happy and joyful, and hope for the future. That's what I
Yes.
felt watching it every day.
Yes. So we're going to put the links. We would love for you to comment and tell us what you think. Because like I said, I've never watched one before. This was a first for me.
Yeah.
And it was because it was so positive. I couldn't wait to see what the next day brought.
Me either. It was just joyful.
Yes. So because we skipped last week, we have a couple of weeks of the Bachelorette to get caught up on. So the first one was when the hometown visits, where Jen took Jonathan, Devin, Marcus, and Jeremy and went home to meet their families. And, you know, it's very typical, because when it's your person, you want to make sure, you don't care if she's Jen the Bachelorette. Don't hurt my boy.
Right.
You know, and the difference, I'll let you talk about Devin, because Devin is isn't it interesting? And, you know, to get a little ahead of ourselves, the remaining two is Devin and Marcus. The two guys that we picked from the beginning.
Yeah, what a shocker.
Yes.
So the hometowns, I wasn't, well, I really wanted to see Devin. And I was shocked about Marcus as well, because he was still up until now, he was still undecided, and he felt like he wasn't moving as fast as she was.
Yeah.
But Devin, I just felt that it was just right.
Yeah.
It seemed like his family would accept her. She seemed right within the family. That's what I liked about Devin and the family. But I think that Devin was, you know, from the very beginning, we know he was very vocal,
Right.
and he wears his heart on his sleeve, and he was telling her he loved her, but he never heard her say that back to him.
Right.
So that was hard for him. But the more he told her he loved her, he wanted to hear something to reassure, like, I love you.
Right.
But I just thought that it was a good hometown visit for Devin. And then you can talk about your Marcus.
Yes, and Marcus, we knew that he had a rough childhood, and because he had shared a little bit of that with Jen, and then he said that it was only him and his sister in the world against the two of them, and the bond that they had. So at the hometown, you got to see some of that, because the sister said to him, you know, if she's the one, you're going to have to open up and let her know that. She can't second guess what you're thinking and how you're behaving. So Marcus became quite emotional, because he told her, he says, I know I'm not where you need me to be, but I want you to know that I'm trying to get there. And it was just very touching. I understand, and I actually appreciate the fact that he didn't just say, yeah, I love you. You know, no, he was like, I don't know. But she got to see him with his family. She got to see him in that environment. I'm trying to think of what Jonathan did. I know they you know, a lot of the times the moms, mommies don't play. And, you know, I think Jonathan's mother, and I'm trying to think if that was his sister, but they also wanted to talk to Jen. And they wanted to make sure that all of the families of all four remaining guys wanted Jen to know that their family members were loved. They didn't want them to get hurt. And if there was anything that prevented her from loving them, they wanted her to do it now versus later.
Right.
So the hometowns were, and so at the end of the hometowns, one person has to go home. So we're happy because Devin and Marcus made it. And I really like Jonathan. I do. And Jonathan was the last one she selected. So Jeremy ended his, you know, quest at this time. So now we go to the overnights. So they go to Hawaii. And one thing I'd like to suggest to the producers, could you do something in between? Because it looks like she goes to bed with one and wakes up the next morning and walks off and goes to see the other one.
Yeah.
And I was like, that kind of, kind of reeks a little bit of hoish tendencies, and that's not what she was doing. And I think it may be a day or two later, put a little caveat, 2 days later, Jen has her date with whomever.
Right. That would be nice. Just a little caption.
Just a little capture so that people know she's not just going back to back to back. So this time she did her first date with Devin. And Devin already had concerns. He wanted her to say, I love you too. He felt like that was important. So they had a little bit of a conversation. I mean, he didn't get too deep about it. They just kind of talked about it.
Right.
And then they went off to the overnight suite. What did you think?
Yes, I wish he had said more to her, said exactly how he felt, because he kind of messed up in that way, because he's thinking it went okay, but then he still had something nagging on his mind, and he wished he had said something more to Jen. So that was the overnights, and then he felt like, I don't feel like I'm the person,
Right.
he said.
He says, I'm one of,
Yes.
but I'm not the person.
Yes, and every time I've said I love you, she always says I can see, what does she say? I can see a future with him. That's what she says.
Yes.
But what he really wanted, I can see a future with you.
Right.
But what he really wanted was for her to reciprocally say I love you too. But
Right.
she never ever said that,
Right.
which was very concerning, because I didn't understand that, because she actually told, who did she tell? Someone that
Marcus.
was it Marcus? Oh yeah, she
Yeah.
did. She told Marcus that she loved him.
Yeah.
So why couldn't she tell Devin?
And I think at the time it was because Marcus was the one that she loved. However, as things continue to evolve, there was a situation with Jonathan. So she did Devin first, then she had her overnight with Jonathan, and I'm a little shocked, because I'm thinking, and I understand, just because the doors are closed doesn't mean they're romping in bed or anything. It's just that they have quiet time where they can talk and they can find out, are you the one? Do you have the beliefs that I have? Do you understand that I'm a Buddhist and I want to raise my children in the Buddhist faith? Oh, well, I'm Catholic. What are we going to do? This is where I think they have those kinds of conversations. So she had another great date with Jonathan. They went to the suites. The next morning, they're happy. She looks so happy. I'm like, okay, I'm confused. You were happy with Devin, and now you're happy with Jonathan. So I'm thinking my guy Marcus is out. So then she does the overnight with Marcus, and they have a great dinner. And Marcus breaks down and tells her he doesn't know if he's there. He doesn't know if he can get there. He knows that he cares for her. He just doesn't know if he can get down on one knee and propose. However, if she's willing, he's willing to stay the course. I was like, whew, thank God. So it comes down to the final rose between the three. Of course, she gives Devin. Oh, and that was another thing. She finally tells, because Devin is like, I can't do this. He has a meeting with Jesse, and he tells Jesse, I don't feel right. I have to talk to her. I can't go on with this. So he gets to talk to her. Do you remember what
Yeah, he goes and knocks on her door, and she's all surprised, and giving him a hug and a kiss.
Yeah.
And he's there because he says, I need to express everything to her. I need to tell her what I should have said on the overnights. So he tells her that I've been giving and giving and giving, and there's only so much I can love.
Right.
And he said that I've been telling you I love you, but I don't feel that you feel the same.
Right.
And I'm not sure where I stand. There's only so much that there comes to a point where it's enough.
Right.
And he really wants to hear her say, I love you.
Right.
But even then, she says to him, it's hard for me to express how I feel.
Right.
She's not very good with words.
Well, because of her history, she doesn't want to say something and not really
Well,
mean
she
it.
said I love you to Marcus, so I
Yeah.
don't know what she's talking
Yeah,
about.
but remember, she told him, "You're a little cuckoo." Like she called him a dodo. She goes, "Dodo, I love you,"
Yeah.
and so he got to hear what he wanted to hear.
Well, she said that. She goes, "Of course I love you."
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know.
And when she gave away the roses, he got the first one.
He got the first one.
And Marcus got the second one. So that to me says, okay, because she had just told Devin, "I love you." She had also just told Marcus that she loved him and that she has always been in love with him. And if you think back to the very beginning, the connection that they had was pretty tight.
Right.
So now I'm like, oh my God, what's going to happen? So unfortunately, Jonathan was sent home.
That was sad because he's the first one to come to the rose ceremony. He goes, I can actually, from these overnights, see myself with her.
Yes.
And actually see a future with her. And he's all hopeful and everything.
Yes.
And as soon as she says, Marcus, they pan to his face and you can see
The hurt.
I thought he was going to start crying.
The hurt.
Yes.
So I didn't like that part, the devastation. However, you know, it moves from there into the men tell all.
But he did say before that, Jonathan did say when he was sent home in the car, that he felt that it was his fault because he wasn't, he didn't move fast enough.
Yeah,
it was
he
too
didn't come
slow.
out of his shell and
Right,
tell her.
he was his worst enemy because he
Yes.
was holding himself back from being a bit faster in showing emotions and further along than he should have been.
Exactly. So that one, he said it was on him. I'll see what I got to say about him later because I still don't think it's like all done. So the men tell all. Oh my God, Sam. Let me tell you something. When you see someone that's just delirious, he's kind of delirious. He tried to make Jen think that he just got caught up in his feelings, and that's why his communication style was the way it was. And it wasn't. It was the two of them got caught up in lust. That's what that was, because there was no communication.
There was no communication, no emotional bond or attachment.
Yes.
It was all about, she said, she actually did admit many times that he's the kind of person that she would go for.
Yeah.
And I think it's more about the chemistry
the
more than the
physical.
emotional.
Exactly. And so luckily she didn't just jump into that and, keep carrying him on. Like they showed the recap of when they were, I think they were, was it Australia when they were on
on the big building, and then they showed that video of when the man comes and says you can either jump off or you can walk,
take a walk
around, and she said we'll walk around, and he just immediately
said no,
didn't confer with her and just immediately said no, we'd like to jump.
Yes. And she kept saying to him, I don't want to do that. I don't want you making decisions for me. And she's like, you didn't even ask me.
And she said that was the red flag.
Yes. And she said that there were several during the event. Who else? Thomas. One of the things that she loved was, as the Bachelorette, showing her Vietnamese culture. Showing the food, showing, what they do and how they do as a family, how they love and support each other. And she told Thomas, she goes, because of our cultural background, initially I thought we were more in lockstep with each other, but you're going to take Devin out to have a conversation with him instead of spending time with me. So that, he shot his own self in the foot.
Right.
So that was, interesting. One of my favorites of the night, of course, were the bloopers. There was a gentleman on there, his name is Hakeem. And Hakeem has the biggest eyes. And when he gets excited, his eyes get bigger
and bigger googly eyes.
Let me tell you, they went back to when they did a photo shoot and they had put a spider on his hand. And he was like, oh, and they had to keep muting his face so that you couldn't see what his lips were saying and beeping him so you couldn't hear what he was saying. But you had an idea when the spider, and he kept saying, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? And the guy's like, I got it. And he's like, oh, So what, of course, would Jesse do? He brings a spider out and puts it on his leg. And so once again, he's using...
That was a really big spider.
That was a really big spider. So he's using profanity and all of that. However, the reason was Jonathan is the first person to be invited to Bachelor in Paradise, and Hakeem is the second. And I think they wanted to get him ready because on the island where they shoot Bachelor in Paradise,
Mexico is a lot of different bugs and creatures,
and animals,
creepy crawlies.
Yes, all kinds of stuff. So hopefully Hakeem's going to get over it, and
I'm looking forward to it. He's a funny guy.
He really is. He really is. So now the show kind of sets us up for next step. And I have to admit, I have no idea. So Marcus has said, he has concerns. They show Devin saying he's got concerns. So Jen is like, so nobody wants me? She's like kind of devastated. Then you see Jesse say something to the fact of, is this really what you want to do? And she says yes. And then they show her knocking on a door.
Yes.
And I was teasing Rosetta. I said, wouldn't it be amazing if it was Jonathan? She's knocking on Jonathan's door. It could be Devin. It could be Marcus. I think she knows that Devin would probably be an easier transition. Marcus is going to take work because Marcus is going to have to stop living in the past as a foster care child because, number one, there's nothing he can do. You can't go back and undo what is already done. You're a grown man now. So even though it's hard, it's something he's just going to have to let go. And Devin is ready to love. So I have...
We don't know, but I don't... Because they do show a clip of the future, the next Bachelorette, her saying, I can't let you propose to me.
Yes.
So I wonder who it is. Because
Yes.
that's... I try not to speculate because a lot of times what we speculate, they throw a curveball.
Yes.
And something else happens and we're shocked and our drawers drop to the ground.
Yeah, so we don't know who...
I'm not speculating, but it's hard not to.
Yeah, we don't know which guy is going to propose and she's not going to accept it. So we'll keep an eye on that.
Well, it's only two of them, Devin and...
That's right.
And Marcus.
That's right, unless somebody comes out of the woodwork. So... I don't know.
We'll see.
We'll keep you informed. So, once again, the weather is crazy. Still, hot, cold. Yesterday, it was like we were almost in the triple digits. And today it's supposed to be not as hot, but hot. The mid to east coast is blistering. Chicago had the hottest temperature on record for this time of year. That's why we need a good president. This is not just weather. This is global warming.
We've been talking about this for how many chats?
Yeah, we have got to have people in our government who will
believe in global warming.
Who will not just believe in it, but will put the planet ahead of greed.
Yeah.
Help me understand something. And if you know this, comment below. What's the difference between $100 million and $1 billion than bragging? If you have it in a bank, it's not helping anybody. So how do we transition that out of people bragging and putting that money to work? And a way of putting that money to work is figuring out how to cool the planet down, because this can't continue. And they're saying summer over summer, it's just going to get hotter and hotter.
And I was shocked because yesterday night I was boiling hot, sleeping. I was sleeping out of my covers, and I'm like, what is up with this? It wasn't like that a few nights ago.
Exactly. And that's what's going on. And just like when you go to a doctor and you're trying to maintain your health, and they always talk about yo-yoing is the worst thing. What is our planet doing right now? It's yo-yoing. It's 76 on one day, and then the next day is 97. That is too fast. So we have to have people who are conscious of the environment. And I don't know why. When did it become okay for everybody to just build their own rocket ships and shoot them off willy-nilly? That can't be good for the planet. So when you're looking to put people in office in your local communities, make sure you're putting people in office who are not a follow the leader person, someone who's going to do what's right for you and your community. That's really, really important. So, this has been a full chat. We hope you have enjoyed our experience of the DNC, our experience of the Bachelorette. You know, normally now we would talk about a health tip and a makeup tip. We think you're probably just full of information. So we're going to scoot that off to our next chat. So my name's Gloria Webb-Williams. My company is Ancient Stones Nurturing Natural, an all-natural mineral makeup manufacturer right here in Santa Clara, California. And my partner in crime is
Rosetta Chow, certified health coach, educator, and speaker. And I'm all about how can I help you get healthy for long-lasting results for disease prevention and healing. And that includes families as well with kids, because our kids are so important. They are our future generations.
Yes. And the way that we ensure that our children have the best path to success is through healthy living, conscious living, and making sure that Mother Earth is taken care of. So we want to thank you very much for joining us on this chat. As always, it has been our pleasure. We feel the love in the room. We send it back to you, bubbling over. And
Yes.
we wish for you a wonderful, cool day.
Yes, we do. Thank you so much. And I love this tea. I finished it all up very
Yes,
quickly.
I'm right behind
It
her.
was very good. And we thank you. And hopefully you enjoyed our chat today. We do hope that. And if you did, then why not hit that thumb icon? If you haven't already, subscribe to our channel and hit that bell notification. We would love that. Thank you so much, everyone. We are Silicon Valley Girls Chat Over Tea. And remember to always keep smiling.